Okay, next is tea ceremony in Japanese culture. Japanese tea ceremony is preparing and drinking matcha tea in a ceremonial way by using traditional utensils. The purpose of Japanese tea ceremony is to create bonding between the host and guests and also gain inner peace in our busy daily life. Japanese people consider tea ceremony very important because it was started by the elite Zen monks and practiced by noble warlords for most of history. During the ceremony, the participants practice silence, respect, mindfulness, and symbolic purification. While Japanese perform tea ceremony as just a hobby today, most people consider it as a form of traditional arts and call it the art of tea. Next. And the next is chapter 2, summary of the journal. The study found distinct communication experience when interacting with Japanese people at work. The use of polite language when giving advice or recommending to subordinates generally show politeness and expect others to agree and do so. However, the expression domo or thank you in English in other contexts can have a different meaning. This misunderstanding occurs due to a lack of understanding of the language variety. The most important details in this text are that the first week in Japan was confusing, sad, and difficult. After a week, the respondent was able to understand the boss instruction, but there were still misunderstandings. Alaston and Takei, 2005, and Izzy, Sogen, Teruyuki, Hasegawa, Sarukagi, and Ishiguro, 2013, explain that meaning is not inherent in words, but a word will be interpreted contrastingly by people who hear it. This has led to mistakes at workplace as the assumption that what is clearly said will be conveyed is not correct because even though it is said clearly, there are certain things that are not conveyed. Edisel 2001 explained that the use of euphemistic expression can be used to avoid being offensive, rude, or impolite. And the next, and the next slide is Japanese people are sensitive to the expressions of others and tend to distance themselves from them in nonverbal communication. This is evidenced by the structure of Japanese houses, which have wall partition in each room, and the anmoku or silent in English habit in Japanese people, which is perceived as approval from superiors. In the workplace, verbal interactions are expected to be more intensive, such as the horenso, or report, contact, and consult. Norm and silence can be a danger signal. The start of work and study or new school year generally begins in April. The use of dark suit uniforms by Japanese company as a sign of equality or status of new employees is a symbol of the equality norm. Indonesian expatriates must be present at the occasion with the cloche and artwork manners such as using keigo or soft language, and horenso or report, contact, and consulate. This contrast between Japanese and Indonesian cultures can lead to psychological conflict such as discomfort, culture shock, and not being accepted by the communication events they encounter. Next. And the next, respondent interpretation of verbal and nonverbal communication is explained by not being able to adjust to communication and their company. This problem is seen as a cultural shock that causes discomfort and the struggle of establishing communication with Japanese people to become familiar in informal situations has become an impression. However, the elderly and people who have lived abroad are more open to foreigners and have a desire to socialize with people from different cultures. This perception cannot be separated from the perception of the typical close Japanese when dealing with foreigners. The respondents' experience of paying attention to the typical Japanese communication can be seen as part of their efforts to understand and adapt to Japanese society. They have a desire to establish communication with the futsal community, which that they have not only cognitive and effective communication, but also operationally as a condition for successful adaptation. They also have an optimistic view in terms of interpretation of communication in the workplace, especially in terms of order and discipline in the office. Japanese people have a high spirit and work ethic and are often serious about their work. I then give it back to moderator.
Okay, thank you for three. So I will continue the summary of the journal. OGG is two types of bow, risturi and jari, which are done by standing up or sitting. The rules of OGG vary based on gender, with males bowing and pressing hips and butt at the same time to maintain balance, while females bowing and putting two hands with their fingers close in front of the body. According to Kanemoto, Koto, Rei, Keirei, Saikere, Eisaku, Ichirei, Tori, Mokure, Chinrei, and Chinrei are not part of the OGG. Horiuchi, Amri, Fukuda, and Rahmat argue that OGG has three categories: Eisaku, a little bow or bowing head; Keirei, total bow; and Saikere, bow fairy tip to worship. Ojigi is a form of greeting done to old friends, acquaintances, superiors, elders, and high-position people. It has a meaningful significance and is usually done to apologize after making a big mistake. Common ojigi include esaku, kere, sekere, futsuna ojigi, and tenina ojigi. Esaku is the most polite and respectful, while kere is deeper than sakere and is done if someone makes a fatal mistake. Teine is more polite and has 45 degrees acute angle or more. And then ojigi is a practice in Japanese daily life that is taught as a manner of courtesy. It involves standing up perfectly in line before a person or group of people and straightening the back. Bow in earnest, without hurry, and bow to touch the ground. Ojigi serves as a tool to facilitate communication and as a supporter of verbal communication. Ojigi is an important part of Japanese communication as it facilitates verbal communication and is a form of Japanese courtesy. It is also a form of gratitude, thank you, and apologies, and can take on the role of verbal communication under certain conditions. Ojigi is a Japanese greeting that is used in various situations, such as when meeting, saying greetings, attracting the attention of the speaker, showing the intention of separation, saying goodbye or bye at the same moment, showing gratitude and apologies, and expressing gratitude for someone's kindness. So the next is our references. You can see to this slide. And I think that's all from our presentation. And thank you for your attention.